What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Talk about your New Orleans Saints. Losers yesterday in the dome, in a crazy dome. Man, after the last touchdown, that place was loud, too. Then you had the Brazil sack. It looked like everything was coming together. And got her. Got it. And you did not. Jake, so you mentioned the 2 weeks of film on them. And I absolutely think that's true, right? Because what became abundantly clear through 2 weeks is that the Saints were going big and defenses were struggling to find ways to adjust. Yeah. Now, I watched the LSU film last night. I'm excited to see if I can. I don't know. I think Saints film may not come out till Tuesday, but whenever it does, I want to watch part of it because, in your view, I'm very interested to see what Philly did personnel wise, because the thing that the Saints have had success with through 2 weeks, first off, is they've generally had bigger bodies than the opponent on the field, and so they've been able to run it successfully. And then when they do throw it, they're generally only facing 4 defensive back sets because teams are being forced out of their kind of base, which is normally nickel nowadays. I don't exactly know why the throwing the ball wasn't there yesterday. It felt like, okay, here's what it felt like. Philly went big on the line, but maybe maintain some of their speed on the back end. Like, it felt like a lot of 5-down looks to me, a lot of big bodies there. And then the other part that you can't ignore about this, no Taysom Hill. You could see the value of Taysom Hill to that offense and all the different things that he can do. The short yardage. You tell me 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 with Taysom Hill in there. You don't think he gets one of those with Taysom and Kamara running back together? And getting the extra blocker if you want to run Q power, use zone read, like whatever. Like Hill when he's lined up at tight end, no Taysom Hill is bad for this offense. Maybe what's worse is no Erik McCoy. And reports, early reports, are that people think he's going to miss a few games. It's a groin injury. I don't know the extent of it yet, but that's brutal. And that could be an injury. Like we talked about Harold Perkins in the first hour, Jake. And that injury is kind of like, that sucks for him personally. And it's certainly not good for the team, but it's not like disastrous. Erik McCoy being hurt is maybe disastrous.
I think it is disastrous.
Because you have an offensive line that you could see like in a closer game in which they'll be forced in a more traditional pass blocking sets. You see the struggles once again. And if you go against a talented D-line that's going to play big, you saw some of the struggles there, and he was the highest-graded center in the NFL through 2 weeks. And the unquestioned bright spot of your O-line. Like, so having no Taysom, no him, I do understand. Combined with 2 weeks of film, like I definitely understand why this offense took such a marked step back.
So not only does it take him off the field, which he's been, like you said, maybe the best center in the NFL, it also forces Lucas Patrick, who played really well last week at guard, to have to move to center.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes away 2 strengths that you had just a week ago, and now you're bringing in someone who wasn't starting the game. And, you know, we saw both offensive linemen run into each other. You know, you had 2 different guards that pulled, and they thought that they were the puller. They ran into each other. Now, it's funny, but those are things that happen whenever you're playing backups and you're playing a tackle at guard, because an NFL game day roster, it's bare bones. Like, you don't have a lot of people up. And then when you have a guy like Lucas Patrick who's kind of played both, sometimes you'll try to cheat the system and be like, oh, we can get away with, you know, maybe carrying an extra tackle because we got this guy that can play all 3 in the middle. And a lot of times you'll have 1 swing tackle, 1 swing guard, and then 1 backup center. And Patrick's kind of...
Is that true? A lot of times they carry 8? I thought teams normally carry 7 on there.
We carried 8 a lot.
Really?
Yeah, we carried 8 a lot. Just, I don't know if we had injuries or what, but we would carry 8. We'd have swing tackle, swing guard, and then center. And if we took one away, it would take the center away, and the swing guard would have to do the center
normally you have a
position.
guard that can play center and somebody who can go in at guard or vice versa.
But I'm thinking about like who the Saints had up. You know, they had 2 different tackles be their backup. guys. Now, they've had some guard experience, but they were probably thinking they could get the most out of Lucas Patrick and use him in all three. But what happened was you had to put a tackle at guard, and it's just a different position. So, yeah, one injury like that across the line and a very already thin offensive line, it's going to take away one of the league's best centers. It's going to take away a guard that played really well at guard, have to move him to center, then you got to move a tackle to guard.
Yeah. But that's not going to change. I think Lucas Patrick is your center, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure, moving forward.
Yeah. So again, I'm really interested to dive in to the Saints film to get it because it was becoming very clear how much hay the Saints are making by running with 21 personnel, 22, whatever say, multiple tight ends, multiple or just using a fullback, only 2 wide receiver sets. I'm very intrigued to get in the film room and see what Philly did schematically to counter it. And then how Clint will counter the counter. Thing is, Kubiak's got his work cut out for him now more than ever if McCoy's out. I mean, you're going to have to mask even more on that offensive line, but certainly getting Taysom back will help in that regard for sure. And the defense is still awesome. The defense, these guys hit so hard, dude. Devontae Smith got destroyed. Brian Brzee coming up with 2 sacks. You love to see it. Like we said, controlling Jalen Hurts. Now, Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley got off on you, but that was the whole fear of Saquon Barkley going to Philly in the first place. He's still a really good running back. Overall, like Jake said, you still held them to 15 points. Like you did more than enough to win. Just Jalen Carter and that Eagles defense a little too good. Jalen Carter felt like he was everywhere yesterday for the Eagles.
I mean, he was kind of the difference maker for me. Like, and there's not many humans walking this earth that look like him. So not every team can replicate what the Eagles were able to do, but he was so impactful, right? Yeah. And where, if you're going to be impactful against Derek Carr, where do you want to be the most impactful?
Yeah, middle.
Right there in the middle.
And it's like, okay, and then who gets hurt? Your best player up the middle in Erik McCoy, and you lose Lucas Patrick. So it's like that whole chain of events that Jake was just talking about gets exacerbated by the fact that their best player, most impactful player on the day is now exploiting the exact position that suffered most from the injury you just had. Bad combination of elements.
So now, you have to sit there and you got to wait to see what McCoy's injury is going to be. If it's any extended period of time, I wonder what the Saints do. And, if you move Lucas Patrick, do you try something different at guard? Maybe Landon Young, another tackle. Maybe he tries his hand at guard. I don't know. I don't know that you can continue on with the season having somebody play out of position for 14 weeks. I just don't think that's a recipe for success for you. So I wonder what they do there. Getting Taysom Hill back, it's a great point you make, and one that we shouldn't just forget about. Like him not being in this game. Like if Kyle Juszczyk didn't play for the 49ers, it'd be a big deal.
Yes.
Like their offense would look completely different. If you watch them against the Rams yesterday, I mean, he's a Y, he's an F, he's an H, he does all those things.
Exactly what Taysom does.
So not having him does change kind of some of the playbook because you don't have – it's the good thing about having a Swiss Army knife like Taysom Hill, and it's the bad thing. When you don't have him, the things that you've worked on, which is a bulk of your offense. And look, I mean, this is every level. Like when you have like a gadget player, it could be 9U flag football, right? It is going to change your offense. When you have that one player, he might not even be your best player. Oftentimes he's not your best player, but he's the guy that changes everything because he is unique. He has a skill set that nobody else has. And when that happens, you have to cut a slice out of your playbook because you don't have, hey, you're Taysom number 2. There's no Taysom number 2. Taysom's one of one.
Where's Tommy Stevens? I'm just kidding. Where did Tommy Stevens? Was that Mississippi State?
Mississippi State after Penn State, I believe.
Yeah, shout out Tommy.
And then there was, a what contest to see who could draft him.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that was the most obstinate, just egotistical pick of the Sean Payton era. Was doing all that for Tommy Stevens.
Calgary Stampeders.
Hell yeah. Okay, still playing?
Still playing.
Credit to him.
Was with the Saints, Panthers, Giants, and then Calgary. Now he's played one game in a couple of years, so No, that's NFL. Okay, so he's actually got some run. Okay. 58 passing yards in 36 games played. What position? This man has 58 passing yards, 448 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns.
So
do the Saints need to go get Tommy Stevens?
I mean, so they actually used him. They're using him in the original
Yes,
vision. They are using him as the Swiss Army
He's got
knife.
15 rushing touchdowns.
He's just a Canadian Army knife.
Yeah.
Instead.
Not a Swiss one. I got you. Well played, sir.
First one of the day. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.